Alright everybody, sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, because today we are going to be going over the greatest player of all time from each jersey number. This is going to be a long one. A couple things I want to mention before we jump into it. I'm not going to be using any player for two different numbers, because obviously there are a ton of players over the years that have worn multiple numbers throughout their career, but the player is only going to qualify for the number that they wore for the majority of their career. I'm going to try my best to give out honorable mentions to the players that really deserve it, you know, the legends, the Hall of Famers, the big name players, but don't expect a ton of honorable mentions for each number because then the video would just never end. Technically, the numbers 0 and 00 were worn before in the National Hockey League, but in today's video, we're obviously just going to focus on numbers 1 through 99, and I don't usually set like goals, but let's try to hit 1,500 likes on this video. This is by far the longest it's ever taken me to put a video together, so I'd appreciate all the support. Of course, if you guys are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button for some more NHL content, and without wasting any more time, let's jump right into it. Beginning with number 1, I'm going with Jacques Plante, former goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens, a 7-time Vezina Trophy winner, a 6-time Stanley Cup champion, and a Hart Memorial Trophy winner. Jacques Plante is one of the greatest of all time, but with the likes of Johnny Bower and Terry Sawchuk also donning the number 1, you can't really go wrong with any of those picks. Number 2 goes to former defenseman Brian Leetch, over 1,000 points. As a defender, that is insanely impressive. A Calder Trophy, a 2-time Norris Trophy winner, a Stanley Cup champion, and a Conn Smythe winner. Overall, just an unbelievable career, but for this spot, I'll also give an honorable mention to Duncan Keith. Number 3 goes to Chicago Blackhawks legend Pierre Pilote. He won 3 straight Norris Trophies from 1962 to 1965, a Stanley Cup champion, a Hockey Hall of Famer. In my opinion, he definitely deserves this spot. Number 4 goes to Bobby Orr, but I'd feel ashamed if I didn't mention guys like Jean Beliveau and Red Kelly too. Bobby Orr's resume speaks for itself. Over 900 points in 657 games as a defenseman, 8 Norris Trophies, 3 Hart Trophies, and multiple Stanley Cups, amongst many other awards. I mean, just imagine if he played a couple more years. Speaking of legendary defensemen, number 5 definitely goes to Nicholas Lidstrom. 7 Norris Trophies, over 1,100 points in 1,564 games, multiple Stanley Cups, one of the best defensemen to ever do it. At number 6, we have another defenseman. They really like the low numbers, Phil Housley, who played in the NHL from 1982 up until 2003. He never won a Norris Trophy or anything, but he put up some pretty insane numbers throughout his career. Number 7, the first forward of the video, Phil Esposito, one of the best players of all time, 10th on the NHL's all-time points list, 6th on the NHL's all-time goals list with 717. Definitely have to give honorable mentions to Tim Horton and Paul Coffey, but Esposito definitely deserves this spot. Number 8 had a lot of competition with guys like Teemu Selanne and Cam Neely, but I have to go with the great 8, Alexander Ovechkin, an absolute joy to watch. In my opinion, when it's all said and done, he's gonna go down as the greatest goal scorer of all time. Number 9 was a no-brainer for me, Mr. Hockey, Gordie Howe, but I will definitely give a huge honorable mention to Maurice the Rocket Richard. Gordie Howe is 4th on the NHL's all-time points list and 2nd on the NHL's all-time goals list with 801. He is easily one of the best to ever play the game. Number 10 definitely has to go to Guy Lafleur. Just an unbelievable career, 5 Stanley Cups. He became the first player in NHL history to score 50 goals and 100 points in 6 consecutive seasons. Definitely honorable mentions to Pavel Bure and Ronnie Franchise, but Guy Lafleur is a no-brainer here. Number 11 was definitely an easy pick, Mark Messier, a 2-time Hart Trophy winner, a 6-time Stanley Cup champion, 5 times with the Oilers and once with the Rangers, 1,887 points in over 1,700 games played, an absolute legend. Number 12 definitely belongs to Jarome Iginla. He's already a member of the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's one of the most likable NHL players of all time in my opinion, and aside from not being able to capture the cup, which is super unfortunate, he had an incredible career. Number 13, I'm giving it to Matt Sundin. You could make a case for Pavel Datsyuk, but I definitely think Sundin deserves this spot. In my opinion, he's the greatest Maple Leaf of all time, and like Iginla, it's super unfortunate he was never able to capture the Stanley Cup. Number 14, I'm giving it to Brendan Shanahan, but he did have some competition with Dave Keon definitely being a close second. Brendan Shanahan scored over 1,300 points in his NHL career and won the Stanley Cup 3 different times with the Red Wings. The best to ever wear number 15 has to be Boston Bruins legend Milt Schmidt, who played in the NHL from 1936 up until 1955. Schmidt racked up 5 575 points throughout his career and won the Hart Trophy in 1951. Moving on to number 16, I'm gonna go with Brett Hull, but he had a lot of competition with guys like Bobby Clark, Marcel Dion, and Trevor Linden. Brett Hull is one of the greatest goal scorers of all time with 741 in 1,289 games played. Overall, just an unbelievable career. The best player to wear number 17, I'm gonna go with Jari Kurri. He won 5 Stanley Cups throughout his career, all with the Edmonton Oilers, racked up just under 1,400 points in 1,251 games played. For many years, Kurri played in the shadow of Wayne Gretzky, but having him as your second option is pretty insane. Number 18 easily goes to Blackhawks legend Denny Savard. He played in the NHL from 1980 to 1997 and racked up over 1,300 points. He wasn't able to win a Stanley Cup in Chicago, but did win one later on in his career with the Montreal Canadiens in 1993. Number 19, I'm going with Steve Yzerman, but he did have a lot of competition for the spot with guys like Joe Sakic, Shane Doan, and Jonathan Toews. Steve Yzerman had an unbelievable career, racking up over 1,700 points and winning the Stanley Cup with the Red Wings 3 different times. Number 20 goes to Luc Robitaille. He was never able to win any of the major individual awards outside of the Calder Trophy, but he did become a Stanley Cup champion in 2002 as a member of the Red Wings and racked up 1,394 points throughout his career. Number 21 was a no-brainer for me, Stan Mikita, but I will give honorable mentions to Peter Forsberg and Bore Salming. Mikita scored over 1,400 points in his NHL career, won the Art Ross Trophy 4 times, the Hart Trophy twice, and a Stanley Cup with the Blackhawks in 1961. Number 22 goes to Mike Bossy. He didn't play for an extremely long time with just 752 games played, but man did he put up some insane numbers. 573 goals, 1,126 points, 3 Lady Byng trophies, a Calder Trophy, and a Conn Smythe, and was a Stanley Cup champion 4 years in a row with the Islanders from 1980 to 1984. Number 23 goes to Bob Gainey. We actually talked about him in a recent video on the channel. If you're not familiar with him, he is one of the greatest defensive forwards of all time, a 5-time Stanley Cup champion with the Montreal Canadiens, and a 4-time Selke Trophy winner. Number 24 goes to Chris Chelios, who played in the NHL from 1983 to 2010. That's a pretty long time, and he had a really successful career, including 3 Norris trophies and 3 Stanley Cups and over 900 career points. Moving on to number 25, I'm gonna go with Joe Nieuwendyk, who played in the league from 86 all the way up until 2007. Nieuwendyk racked up over 1,100 career points, won the Calder Trophy as League's Rookie of the Year, won the Stanley Cup 3 different times, including winning the Conn Smythe as playoffs MVP in 1999. Number 26 goes to Peter Stastny. He won the Calder Trophy in 1981, scored over 100 points 7 different times throughout his career, and put up a total of 1,239 points. For this number though, I will also give an honorable mention to Marty St. Louis. Number 27 had a lot of competition, but I decided to go with Frank Mahovlich. I will, however, give honorable mentions to Scott Niedermayer and Daryl Sittler. Mahovlich is a Hockey Hall of Famer, won 6 Stanley Cups throughout his career, and put up over 1,100 points. Number 28, we have Steve Larmer. His only major award in the NHL was the Calder Trophy, which he won in 1983 as League's Rookie of the Year, but overall had a really solid career, putting up 1,012 total points. Number 29, a no-brainer, Ken Dryden, 6 Stanley Cups, 5 Vezina trophies. He rarely ever lost. He finished his career with a record of 258 wins and just 57 losses. Number 30 was a pretty easy pick. It's gotta be Martin Brodeur. He's the all-time leader in wins by a goaltender, all-time leader in games played and shutouts, 4 Vezina trophies, multiple Stanley Cups, just an absolute legend. Number 31 goes to Billy Smith, but I will give honorable mentions to Carey Price, Curtis Joseph, and Grant Fuhr. Billy Smith was the goaltender for the Islanders throughout their dynasty that saw them win 4 Stanley Cups in a row. During that time, Billy Smith also won a Vezina trophy, a Conn Smythe, and a Jennings. Number 32 goes to Dale Hunter. He wasn't necessarily ever a superstar, but overall had a really solid career, putting up over 1,000 points. He also became a really successful head coach for the London Knights after his playing career. Number 33 is a pretty easy one. It's Patty Waugh, 551 career wins, 3 Vezina trophies, 5 Jennings, 4 Stanley Cups, and 3 Conn Smythes. Easily a top 5 goaltender of all time, and definitely the pick for number 33. Number 34, I'm giving it to Mika Kiprusoff, but you could easily go with John Van Beesbrook. Kiprusoff, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated goaltenders of the 2000s, playing 70 or more games in a single season, 7 different times, and winning the Vezina and the Jennings in 2006. Number 35, we have Blackhawks legend Tony Esposito. He won 3 Vezina trophies throughout his career, a Calder Trophy, and a Stanley Cup in 1969, and his 423 career wins currently has him at 10th all time. Not a lot of options for number 36, so I guess it has to be Jussi Jokinen, and I will give an honorable mention to Matt Zuccarello, but overall I think Jokinen had a better career. Number 37 has to be Patrice Bergeron, but I'll give an honorable mention to Olaf Kolzig. Bergeron is one of the greatest two-way centermen of all time, winning 4 Selke trophies throughout his career, and even at the age of 34, he is still one of the top centers in the league. Number 38 goes to Pavel Demitra, a super underrated career, 768 points in 847 games. Unfortunately, he was taken way too early, passing away in a plane crash back in 2011, so may he rest in peace. Number 39 is easily the dominator, Dominik Hasek, arguably the greatest goaltender of all time, 6 Vezina trophies, 3 Jennings, and 2 Hart trophies as league's MVP. As a goaltender, that is insanely impressive. Number 40 goes to my favorite player of all time, Henrik Zetterberg, who played for the Red Wings in the NHL from 2002 up until 2018 and put up 960 career points. Zetterberg also won the Conn Smythe as playoffs MVP in 2008 when the Red Wings won the Stanley Cup. I'm really hoping he gets into the Hall of Fame one day. Number 41, I guess, has to go to Jason Allison. He played in the NHL from 1993 to 2006, and while he's not really a big name, he definitely had some really strong years. Number 42 goes to David Backes, longtime captain of the Blues, current member of the Anaheim Ducks, which I actually kind of forgot about. I still thought he was on the Bruins. Like Jason Allison, not necessarily a big name, but overall has had a really solid career. The spot for number 43 goes to former goaltender Marty Biron. He played from 1995 up until 2014 and racked up 230 career wins and had a career .910 save percentage. Overall, pretty solid. Number 44 goes to Hall of Famer Chris Pronger, who is one of the best shutdown defensemen of all time. He won the Norris Trophy and the Hart Trophy in 2000 and won the Stanley Cup with the Anaheim Ducks in 2007. Number 45 goes to Jonathan Bernier. No, I am not kidding. There really wasn't too many players to choose from. You could go with Aaron Asham, but I mean, take your pick. Anyways, moving on. 46 definitely goes to David Krejci. A super underrated career. I think a big reason why is because he's played in the shadow of Patrice Bergeron for so many years. But overall, Krejci has been great for them over the past decade and was a huge part of their 2011 Stanley Cup win. Number 47 didn't have a ton of competition. I went with Alex Radulov, but you could definitely go with a guy like Torrey Krug. Radulov has only played 6 full years in the National Hockey League, but has scored 25 or more goals 3 times and broke the 70-point mark twice. 48 goes to Scott Young, but I will give an honorable mention to Danny Briere, who's a really close second. Scott Young played in the NHL from 1987 to 2006, played over 1,100 games, and racked up 756 total points. Slim pickings for 49, so it goes to Brian Savage. What a name, by the way. He played in the NHL from 1993 to 2006, and in 674 career games had 359 points. Number 50 definitely belongs to Corey Crawford, a 3-time Stanley Cup champion with the Blackhawks, a 2-time Jennings winner in 2013 and 2015, and when you look at his career numbers overall, they're very, very good. Number 51, I decided to go with defenseman Brian Campbell. You could go Franz Nielsen or Valtteri Filppula, but I think Campbell's the right answer here. A really good offensive defenseman throughout his career, put up over 500 points, and won the Cup with the Hawks in 2010. For number 52, I decided to go with Adam Foote, but you could easily go with Mike Green, who is the much better offensive defenseman, but Adam Foote's overall game, he was a beast, 308 points in 1,154 games played, multiple Stanley Cups with the Avalanche. Number 53 goes to Jeff Skinner. Yeah, he wasn't the greatest this season, but overall still has had a really good career, a Calder Trophy, 465 points, but I will say, I think sooner rather than later, Bo Horvat will take over this spot. 54 goes to David Jones. There wasn't really too many players to choose from for this number. which now brings us to 55, and it has to be former defenseman Sergei Gonchar. A lot of you may be thinking that this should be Larry Murphy, but he wasn't 55 for the majority of his career. Remember, that is one of the requirements I said at the beginning of the video. 56 is definitely Sergei Zubov, an extremely underrated offensive defenseman, put up 771 points in 1,068 career games, and had a career-high 89 points in 94 at the Rangers. 57 is easily David Perron. Over the past 3 seasons, he's been very good. He was obviously a key contributor to the St. Louis Blues winning the 2019 Stanley Cup, and this season he had 59 points and was an all-star. Number 58 is definitely Chris Letang. He didn't really have any competition for this spot. Letang has been one of the best defenders in the league over the past decade and is a 3-time Stanley Cup champion with the Penguins. 59, speaking of great defensemen, we have Roman Josi, who also didn't really have too much competition here. 413 career points in 632 games. He was amazing this year. Definitely has to be one of the finalists for the Norris Trophy. Number 60 is far and away Jose Theodore. 286 career wins, won the Vezina and the Hart Trophy in 2002, which is something only 6 other goaltenders have done, which is pretty impressive. Number 61 has to be Rick Nash. In his prime, he was a beast. He scored 40 or more goals in a single season 3 different times, including winning the Rocket Richard as a sophomore in 2004. 62 didn't have much competition, so it has to be Carl Hagelin. Overall a solid career and has always been like a pretty good third line forward. Another number with not too much competition, 63 definitely goes to Brad Marchand. Love him or hate him, you can't deny the fact that he is a fantastic player. 85 or more points over the past 4 seasons, a Stanley Cup with the Bruins in 2011. Number 64, again, not too much competition, so it has to go to Mikael Granlund, who overall has been a pretty solid player throughout his career with 352 total points. Number 65, easily Erik Karlsson. Over the past decade, he has arguably been the best defender in the league. While he wasn't the greatest in the 2019-20 season, that doesn't take away from the fact that he has had an unbelievable career with 603 total points and 2 Norris trophies. Number 66, I mean, come on, it's Super Mario. Multiple Hart trophies, multiple Art Ross trophies, over 1,700 career points in just 915 games, multiple Stanley Cups, you name it, he's done it. Arguably the most talented player to ever play the game. Number 67 has to be Max Pacioretty. He scored 30 or more goals in a single season 6 times. He was great for Montreal and is looking even better for Vegas. He's fit right in. Number 68, one of the greatest of all time, Jaromir Jagr, the ageless wonder. The dude is still playing professionally over in the Czech Republic at 48 years old and still producing, I might add. Over 1,900 points in over 1,700 games played, an unbelievable career. Definitely the only right answer for number 68. Number 69 is rarely ever worn, so I guess Andrew Desjardins kind of gets this spot by default because he's really the only player to consistently wear the number throughout his entire career. Number 70 is easily Braden Holtby. The only real competition he had is Tanner Pearson, and Holtby definitely gets the spot over him. He won the Vezina Trophy in 2016, the Jennings in 2017, and the Stanley Cup in 2018. Number 71, another no-brainer, it's Geno Malkin of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Over 1,000 career points in just 907 games played. A Calder Trophy, 2 Art Ross trophies, a Conn Smythe, a Hart, a Ted Lindsay, 3 Stanley Cups. Evgeny Malkin has had an amazing career. Number 72, definitely Sergei Bobrovsky. Yeah, he was pretty bad this season, but that doesn't take away from the fact that over the past decade, he's been one of the best goalies in the NHL, winning 2 Vezina trophies in that time period. Number 73 goes to Michael Ryder, but I think in no time Tyler Toffoli will eventually take over this spot. Ryder was definitely a pretty solid goal scorer throughout his career, scoring 25 or more in a single season 5 times. 74 goes to John Carlson, but an honorable mention to TJ Oshie, who wore the number throughout his time in St. Louis. John Carlson has been incredible over the past couple of seasons, especially this year with 75 points in 69 games. Has yet to win a Norris Trophy, but I think after this season that all changes. Not a lot to choose from for 75, so I guess it has to be Hal Gill, who played in the league from 97 up until 2014. Never an offensive defenseman by any means, but always a very serviceable shutdown guy. Number 76 has to be PK Subban. The Norris Trophy winner from 2013 has 426 career points in 713 games. Sure, the past couple of years haven't been amazing for him, but there's definitely still time for him to bounce back. Number 77 definitely goes to Ray Bourque, the NHL's all-time leader in points by a defenseman with 1,579. Fun fact, he also has the most shots on goal ever out of any player, forwards, and defensemen. Number 78 goes to Mark Pouliot. Oh, you've never heard of him? Well, neither have I before making this video. There really was not many players to choose from whatsoever for this number. Number 79 is easily former defender for the Montreal Canadiens, Andrei Markov, who played in the NHL from 2000 up until 2017 and is currently playing in the KHL. Markov racked up 572 total points in 990 games played and was always just really solid for Montreal. Number 80 goes to Nick Antropov, who played in the NHL from 1999 up until 2013. Not a big name player, but since there wasn't too much competition for this spot, I think he deserves it. Number 81, however, did have some competition. I gave it to Hossa, but we'll give a big honorable mention to Phil Kessel. Marian Hossa scored over 1,100 points throughout his NHL career and won 3 Stanley Cups with the Blackhawks. Number 82 definitely has to go to Martin Straka, who was a pretty solid offensive player throughout his career, scoring 717 points in 954 games. Moving on to number 83, we have Ales Hemsky, who actually recently announced his retirement from professional hockey, so shout out to him on all the success he had at the NHL level. Not too much to choose from for 84, so I guess it has to be Mikhail Grabovski. Don't get me wrong, he did have some really good years in Toronto, but outside of that, I guess he was kind of just average. 85 goes to Peter Klima. Throughout his NHL career, he was a really good goal scorer, scoring 20 or more in a single season 10 different times. Number 86, not a lot of competition. Kucherov secures this spot easily. 544 career points in 514 games, and Art Ross, a Hart, and a Ted Lindsay. The dude is just a beast. Number 87, I mean, come on, it's obviously Sidney Crosby. 1,263 points in 984 games played. One of the greatest players of all time. 3 Stanley Cups, countless individual awards. Number 88 is, of course, Patrick Kane. One of the very best players in the league over the past decade. A Calder Trophy winner, a Conn Smythe winner, an Art Ross, Hart, and Ted Lindsay Award winner, and of course 3 Stanley Cups. Number 89, definitely Alexander Mogilny, the first Russian to defect and come over to the National Hockey League and had a very amazing career, over 1,000 points, scored 76 goals in 1993. I mean, come on NHL, what are we doing? Put this guy in the Hall of Fame already. Number 90 definitely belongs to Ryan O'Reilly. A really good career, and the highlights of it all pretty much coming last season when he won the Selke Trophy and led the St. Louis Blues to the Stanley Cup, winning the Conn Smythe as playoffs MVP. Number 91 goes to Sergei Fedorov. Over 1,100 career points, 2 Selke trophies, a Hart Trophy in 1994, 3 Stanley Cups. Don't get me wrong, Tavares and Stamkos are fantastic, but they've got a ways to go to catch Fedorov. Number 92 goes to Gabriel Landeskog of the Colorado Avalanche, their current captain. I've said on the channel multiple times, I think he's a super underappreciated player, and since being drafted 2nd overall back in 2011, has been fantastic for Colorado. Number 93 easily goes to Dougie Gilmour, who played in the league from 1983 up until 2003, put up over 1,400 points, won the Selke Trophy in 1993, and is a Stanley Cup champion. Number 94 is easily Ryan Smith. Played a very long time, over 1,200 games, was never necessarily a superstar, but always just very, very good. Number 95, not much competition, so I guess it goes to Alexei Morozov, but in no time I think Matt Duchene will take over this spot, but he doesn't qualify because for the majority of his career he wore number 9. Number 96, we have a goalie's worst nightmare, Thomas Holmstrom. He made his living standing at the top of the crease screening goaltenders and ended up racking up 530 career points in 1,026 games, but if there was a stat for screen assists, he'd probably be the all-time leader. Number 97, I'm going to give it to Jeremy Roenick, but it's only a matter of time before you know who, Connor McDavid, takes over this spot as the greatest player to ever wear 97, but for right now, I still think it's JR. Not too much to choose from for 98, so I guess it has to be Mikhail Sergachev, who is by far the youngest player on this list, but he's already a very good defenseman and is only going to continue to get better. And finally, number 99, big surprise, it is Wayne Gretzky, the great one, the greatest player of all time. Definitely don't really have to do much explaining for this pick. He's done pretty much everything there is to do at the NHL level, and if you even took away all of his career goals, he'd still be the all-time points leader, which is just such a mind-blowing stat. That is finally going to wrap up today's video. I really hope you all did enjoy. I put so much work and effort into this one and time, so if you did enjoy, please make sure to go down there and smash that like button. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button for some more NHL content. And with all that being said, I will see you all in the next video.